The May 8th, 2017 workshop is called to order at 6:01 p.m. We have a quorum with Mr. Rosales, Mr. Ramirez, no, Mrs. Woodruff, Mr. Pearson, Ms. Harrison, Ms. Duenas, and myself, Shane Haggerty. Secretary Duenas, will you please lead us in the pledges and a moment of silence?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. You may be seated.
May I please have a motion on the order of the agenda?
Mr. President, I move that we approve the order of the agenda.
Thank you. Dr. Desoto, does the administration have a recommendation on the order of the agenda?
President Haggerty and members of the board, the administration would recommend the order of the agenda as presented.
Thank you, sir. Go ahead and cast your electronic votes. Motion is approved, 6-0. Dr. De La Torre, do you have any reports for the board?
President Haggerty, members of the board, esteemed guests, we have 6 reports for your consideration this evening. The first is the Customer Experience Summit presentation. Making that presentation is our Director of Parent Pupil Services, Mr. Jimmy Vasquez, and Ms. Monica Bustillos.
Services, thank you. And we're here to share with you some information on an exciting new initiative with regard to service excellence. So what we want to do, we want to train all YISD employees in service excellence. We want to be able to provide a world-class experience for all of our stakeholders in each of our learning communities. So why do we feel the need to do this? In looking at our trends over the past few years, we have found that, there we go, we have found that in each of the last 3 years, there have been over 400 concerns that have come through the Department of Pupil and Parent Services. And this year we're on target to exceed 400 as well. And, you know, in looking at our data, you know, just from the last 9 weeks alone, we have had around 140 concerns. And out of those, Ms. Bustillos and I had determined that there's been about 75 to 80 of those 140 that deal directly with customer service. And, you know, we established this by looking at some of the things the parents said, such as, you know, we had no return phone call, we were treated rudely, they did not want to listen to my concerns, things like that. So that's how we determined those were customer service related. And so am I saying we're doing a horrible job at our schools? Absolutely not. Each and every single day, our administrators, our teachers, our faculty and staff members, they go above and beyond what's written in their job description to ensure that every child is adequately taken care of, and they do an outstanding job. But can we do better? Absolutely. So what we want to do is not anything new, but we want to be able to, well, looking at our Vision 2020 and our strategic plan, we have found that we're just simply following the plan. Goal 3 deals directly with service excellence. And in looking at the 17-18 school year with the plan, it talks about promoting a positive culture. And we feel that our proposal will enhance what we already have undertaken. So here to tell you more about the plan is Ms. Bustillos.
Hello. So many of you have probably had this experience where you've either gone to get an ice cream at Haagen-Dazs or, you know, possibly at a Volvo dealership. And you know, when you're walking into those organizations, one, you're getting a quality product, but two, you're getting excellent customer service. And where that comes from is the fact that both Haagen-Dazs, Volvo, and many other organizations, even NFL and NBA, have all been trained by one specific world-renowned and widely respected organization, and that is through the Disney Institute. So when is the Disney Institute's Customer Experience Summit? What we're looking at is we've created a team known as the Service Excellence Ambassadors. At the end of the month, this team of central office and campus leaders will attend the Institute. The focus of the Institute is to empower our leadership to implement the cultural change that we need for service excellence. We want this to be consistent throughout our campuses, which is what our students, parents, and all YISD stakeholders deserve. So the training and the rollout, because it's a huge undertaking. Over the summer, the Service Excellence Ambassadors will meet to establish our goals and standards for service excellence. We will then utilize a trainer of trainers models to disseminate and cascade the training for all YISD personnel. We will adopt a book study using the same book that we will work with at the summit, which is Be Our Guest. In August, the leadership from all the campuses will also train their staff, but based on the standards and the goals that we have created for service excellence. We want to make sure that this training touches every employee. And when we say everybody, we are talking about custodians, child nutrition services, our attendants, clerks, every single person that works for YISD. We even want to make sure that we are part of new employee orientation so that the moment that you sign saying that you are now a Ysleta employee, you know that this is the standard and this is how we will treat people in our district. How does it coordinate with our current programs? A couple of months ago, you saw a presentation from our counselors for our Random Acts of Kindness campaign for anti-bullying. Here you will see where this goes hand in hand, where we want to create a culture in our organization where the standard is beyond treating people the way we would want to be treated. It is treating people the way they want to be treated. We are making courtesy a priority and the gold standard throughout the district. We know that positivity is contagious. We know that what we expect is that when you walk into our campuses or a district office, that you are treated with world-class customer service. You should never know if we are having a bad day. You should hear our smile over the phone when we answer the phone, and you should always know that the moment you walk into our campus, you are the most important person in the world.
Let's talk about our return on investment. You know, obviously we're a district with declining enrollment, and in the next few years we'll expect to see charter schools popping up around the city, and we can be sure that many of our parents may consider going to charter schools. And when they can make that consideration, they're not only going to be thinking about the quality of education that they're receiving, and they're already receiving a top-notch education here in our district, but they're also going to be thinking about the experiences they've received and have been provided here in our schools. Some have been good, some have been bad. But they're going to be thinking about all this when they make those considerations. So that's why we want to train all of our employees on how to best provide that positive experience for all of our stakeholders. We want our parents, when they walk into our schools, to get that warm, inviting feeling. We want our students to get that same feeling when they walk into their classrooms. And ultimately, we want our parents, when they drop off their kids in the morning, to be confident that when they leave their kids for the day, that they're going to be in a safe and nurturing environment where they're going to be receiving not only, and they're going to be taken care of not only academically, but emotionally as well. I leave you with a quote from Walt Disney. He says, "In this volatile business of ours, we can ill afford to rest on our laurels, even to pause in retrospect. Times and conditions change so rapidly that we must keep our aim constantly focused on the future." In looking at some of those organizations that Monica mentioned, like Haagen-Dazs and Volvo and so forth, Humana is another one, the NFL, NBA, those were already well-established organizations and had a great reputation, great track record. But they all recognized that they could do more and they can do better, especially with regard to customer service and service excellence. So that's why they went through that institute, and that's why we feel this is a step in the right direction for us. We're doing a great job, but we want to improve and do even better. Thank you.
First of all, thanks very much for bringing this forward. I have a pretty negative view on customer service in El Paso. You may have too, but anyway, let's smile. Any idea how you can measure the effect of this? I mean, I know you haven't been through the Institute. I'm sure you've read the paperwork, but, I assume knowing Disney, this isn't inexpensive. And so how have you thought about or been told a way to measure this? I mean, we do the parent surveys and all that, but this is a little bit, and we may see a bump there if it works, but I'd like to see a little bit more focus.
Absolutely. One of the things that I was looking at, they have case studies on that website, and one of the organizations, it was a restaurant, I forget the name at this time, but what's the name of it? Razu? It was a chain of restaurants nationwide, and what they were, they had the secret shopper type of experience. So they would go based on the secret shopper. They would gather that information there. They had customer service questionnaires that their customers filled out, and they had a 50% reduction in the number of complaints that they received. What their philosophy was is that it might not be our fault, but it's our problem, and they wanted to deal with it there at their restaurant. They don't want them going to their customer service toll-free number and so forth. They wanted to handle these situations at their establishments, and as a result, they did see a decline in the number of negative experiences. So, I think in speaking with Pat O'Neill, we also, I know our district was known several years ago for the fish philosophy. And I believe they had a similar way of measuring that as well through those types of secret shopper type of deals. Thank you.
Yes. Is this a new program you're bringing into the district?
It's not. We like to see it as a supplement to all the great things we're already doing. Just as Ms. Bustillos mentioned, the random acts of kindness. This is just going to enhance that program. Like I believe she said, that positive, the positivity that you experience, it's contagious. And that's what the random acts of kindness deals with, is having all those positive messages. And by working with customer service, the way we treat not only our students and our parents, but really the way we treat our own employees. A lot of this institute deals with employee engagement as well. And so the institute is several years old. Several world-renowned organizations have gone through it. And we just see it as an enhancement to all the great things we're already doing.
The reason why I'm asking you is because this program Mrs. Bustillos mentioned about bullying and all this, it continues. It has been a big problem, especially in the Riverside area. And also now, on Friday, we had a little girl committing suicide in front of other students. And we need to get this implemented to our district, every school, because it's not being done. And we're having to counsel all the students because it is not getting done. It would be very, very important, especially the trauma that these kids are going through.
Absolutely, and I think the fact that our office handles a lot of the bullying situations, we've done several things to make a difference. We've even gone out and done our own mediation between kids to help them establish. As a matter of fact, I just called a parent today to follow up on her child who was also suicidal, to make sure that we had made the progress that we needed with her, and we did. The mother was very pleased with it. This is why we feel that we need to do something about it. We know that treating each other with respect, and even what the kids will see when a parent walks into the office, or the way the attendance clerks treat each other, or the way the principal and the assistant principal engage in their behavior, That is the role modeling that we want to take place. So in implementing this program, we're going to be able to cause a ripple effect, if you will. We will cause that ripple effect as the kids see our leaders and everyone in this room that represents the district treat each other kindly, with respect, with love, so that the kids are able to emulate that type of behavior. So we do expect it to make a difference and reach deep down in there, because our kids are the most important thing.
Right, because you have to also train teachers, because I was at Marion Manor when this happened. And one of the teachers that was doing, that had invited me, was, had her daughter, she had to go run over there, was very upset because at the same time she had a program and then having to deal with her daughter.
Mr. Chairman,
And didn't know how to go about it.
may I?
That's why I think that
This presentation revolves around the culture of
I am
customer
speaking,
service.
Mr.
Has nothing to
Rosales.
do with bullying, and I think
That's what she
that's a
just
very
said.
good point, but I think we need to discuss.
But I am speaking.
We're discussing this
I am
issue.
speaking. I'm
I know
sorry,
that,
but you're
it's
being
time to move
very
on, ma'am.
rudely
Thank you
interrupted.
very much.
No, I am going to
Through
continue
the
because.
chair, I feel that
don't-
we're
feel
gotten
that-
totally off track.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, well, that's part
Well,
of what you think.
that's your
Did you have a question,
opinion.
Ms. Duenas?
Yes, my
what's your
question is, are you also implementing the teachers?
Yes, ma'am.
Because
As
it
I
has to-
mentioned on slide 7, we did talk about how we will train our leaders through the book study, and that every single principal will implement that and roll that out to their campus in August during their staff development. It's on slide 7.
Okay.
Mr. Rosales, you had?
I just want to add, excuse me, I think this thought is extremely important. I probably am one of the few people that actually make a living from customer service. And it's real simple in my environment. I mess up. It impacts me in my pocket. As teachers, we're professional. And through the course of time, they're not part of the, well, in my opinion, they're not part of this culture of what I'm here as a professional, but it really, as we evolve as a nation, the more we interact with one another, and again, it goes back to respect. I think this is a tremendous project that you're undertaking. We have, as a country, have gotten away from customer service. I use the banking industry. You used to be able to walk into a bank, there were 1 or 2 tellers to take your money. Walk into America, Bank of America, they make $4 billion every 90 days, net profit. And every morning, invariably, there'll be 2 tellers, and there'll be 25 people waiting in line, because customer service has gotten away from this country. And if we're now, as a district, moving towards the things that people need and people want, I think you're answering the call. And I commend you, Dr. De La Torre, and all your leaders. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Mrs. Woodruff, you have a question?
Push the button.
Actually, my question isn't so much as a comment, but when you say that, I'm just going to say that teachers do have to deal with customer satisfaction. I mean, how many teachers have to talk to parents, have to talk to other teachers, to all these people? The thing is that if we don't know how to deal with our parents, then we're not doing our job as teachers either. So anyway, that's just my comment, and I think that this sounds like a really great move to increase our customer service in our district. Thank you.
I just wanted to thank you too for being proactive to this issue. I know this is something that every district has to deal with, but once again, it's Ysleta that emerges as the leader, and it's Ysleta that's going to come out on top and continue to shine. So thank you very much.
At this time, we'll have Mr. Pat O'Neill with our monthly bond presentation, and he'll share with us the progress being made across the district.
Thank you very much, Dr. De La Torre. Good evening, board members. I am here to give you your monthly bond update, tell you how well things are going and the progress that we've made in the last 30 days. The structure, organizational structure, there's been no change in the last 30 days. Still have a very strong team overseeing these projects. Projects that are currently under construction, we have Bel Air Middle School, Eastwood Knolls, Tierra del Sol, Desert Air, Thomas Manor, Rio Bravo, Ysleta Middle School, Eastwood High School, which is Phase 1, which is our portables, getting ready for construction, and finishing up with Parkland Middle School, which we are in Phase 3. All right, Bel Air Middle School, the ASA is the architect, Urban Associates is our contractor. Students will be moving into this brand-new facility in the fall of 2018. Construction's moving right along. It's a brand-new school. It'll accommodate 800 students. As we've talked about several times, a very unique site with, it's kind of a split-level site, which makes it a little different from anybody else in El Paso, but it creates that uniqueness. But here's some pictures for you to see. And even if you'd gone out this weekend, as several of us have, they've already poured concrete in the slabs. They're moving right along. Kind of had a good and a bad thing happen. The bad thing was the wall blew over. But it was good because, you know what, they're going to have to rebuild it at no cost to the district. So we're going to get a brand new wall in that upper level of the property. So that was the good thing. But here's some just pictures that you can see of Bel Air. Last month,
Mr. O'Neill?
ma'am?
I have to tell you that I spoke to Mr. DeRowan, and he says he's already got his office site picked and where he's going to put his desk.
Picked out, colors, he's got it all. He's ready to move in. But we're at 10% completion, but we will be ready to open up. That project is right on schedule. Next up, we have Eastwood Knolls. GA is the architect. Dantex is the contractor. It will be ready for the fall of 2017. Scope of work for this project is they're getting a gymnasium, which they needed because they were one of our middle schools, 2 middle schools that did not have a gymnasium, a competition gymnasium. But we also repurposed the old cafeteria and created some really excellent fine art spaces for them. They had kids practicing orchestra and choir out in the hallways. Now they will have their own space. We will also be doing some life cycle work, and construction for this project is at 40%.
We have a question, sir.
Yes, sir.
Mr. O'Neill, as we, excuse me, as we were approaching the bond, we had conversations about a metric report. And in this particular project, we're already at 40%. And so my question, in talking about the metric would let us know on a monthly basis whether we're on time, under, or over budget. So at this point, for example, let's use Eastwood Knolls. Are we under budget? Are we over budget? Are we on time? Are we over time? Are we? I'm a little bit confused because I thought we had agreed that was something that's going to be presented to the board.
Yes, sir, and I'll make sure it's good and clear for the rest of the projects. For this project, we are ahead of schedule, we are under budget, and it is quality. And those are the things that we promise to our community. On time, under budget, and the work is quality. And yes, sir, on all three.
And again, I would like to have a monthly report as you're doing. This is where we're at on each of these reports.
You will have it.
Yeah, because if we're that much under, well, we want to see where the savings are and how much the savings are.
Yes, sir, I
Okay,
will
if
get
you
that
wouldn't
for
mind.
you. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Here's some pictures. The one on the far left is the art room, which is right next to the gymnasium. Then the middle picture is the interior of the gymnasium. You can see the work that's going on. The far right is a picture of the locker room. And this is the steel structure, the roof that is going on there. Tierra del Sol Architecture is the architect. AO is the general contractor. It will be ready to go for the start of next school year. They're getting life cycle work as well as a new kitchen cafeteria multi-purpose area for that school. This project is on time, it's within budget, and it is quality, and we're at 32% complete. Here are some pictures, give you a look of what's going on. You can see the exterior walls to the multi-purpose room are up. Still doing some slab work for the kitchen area, and then the interior of the multi-purpose room with the steel structure. Desert Air Elementary School. Architecture was the architect. AO is the general contractor. It will be completed in time for school. It's a little bit behind the Tierra del Sol project, but we've got a phased-in plan that'll help us make sure it's ready to go on time. But it was a little bit further behind than the Tierra del Sol. Construction is at 25%. But it is within budget. some pictures. You could look at the tilt-up walls that are on the floor slab. Workers are continuing to pour the foundation. The new Thomas Manor Elementary School demolition is at 100% completion. We will be bringing to you next week on the 17th who would be the contractor for this project. The contractor for the demolition part was by Spartan. GA was the architect. We will start construction this summer in June.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
On this one, is the contract already ready to start and everything?
We will be bringing it to you next week, the recommendation for the contractor for this project. So you have not approved a contractor yet. It'll happen next week.
Okay. And do you have a contractor?
Yes, ma'am. One that we have a lot of confidence in.
Okay. And let's see. On the Thomas Manor, we have a lot of questions. The community has a lot of questions. But you haven't been attending the meetings. The last time you even told us on
ma'am.
tape you were going to be there with no doubt, but yet you never showed up. And we were waiting, and the people were getting kind of upset because it's just a runaround on this. And so I'm wondering, will you be going this month to their meeting?
I will be there tomorrow night at 5:30 at the shelter. Along with me will be coming VLK, and we're inviting the city also to come.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Rio Bravo Middle School, Carl Daniels is the architect. Dantex is our contractor. We will be completed within budget and on time, and will open up in the summer of 2017. They're getting a brand-new gymnasium, just as Rio Bravo was in need of a gymnasium, or excuse me, Knowles was. Rio Bravo also had that need. They will also be getting life cycle work done at their school. You remember last month you all approved for us to go ahead and do the roof. When we peeled that roof back, there was also some other issues with it, and we're working and correcting those. But that happens anytime you open up a roof. You don't know what's underneath there until you actually do it. But we are making those corrections, and it'll be ready to go. Should not delay the completion of the project. It is at 41% complete. Here you get a look at some of the work that is currently being done. The first picture on your left shows you what the interior of the gym is at this point. Picture in the middle is a look at the locker rooms. And then at the right is if you were coming out from the gym, looking out through the front entrance, that is what it looks like. It is also at 41%, as we stated on the slide prior. Ysleta Middle School additions and renovations. Carl Daniels is our architect. Dantex is our contractor. Will be completed on time within budget. We'll be ready to go for the start of next school year. Once again, kind of like what we did at Knowles, is we took an area that really wasn't being used. It was the old cafeteria, and turned it into fine art spaces for the kids. Choir room, band, piano. It'll be a nice area for the kids, as well as they're getting some life cycle work done. Here you get a look. First picture on your left is the interior of one of those practice rooms. Then the choir piano room, and then the work that is being done in the band room. Walk through there when you get a chance. We'll take you, be happy to give you a tour. It's very impressive what those students will have access to come this fall. Eastwood High School, the portable village. All the portables are in. Right now we're in the middle of getting electricity to them, cleaning them up, getting ready to go. Our plan is last day of school is the 6th, which is a Friday. That Monday, we're going to start moving desks, teachers' materials into these portables. Also, those 9th graders that are going over to Eastwood Middle, we're going to transition and get the teachers' materials over to them. So we'll have a busy summer. Right after that, 2 weeks after that, we'll start the abatement, and it'll just go phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, abatement, demolition, abatement, demolition. Come this September, that building will be, the part that's going to be rebuilt will be demolished. Get a look at some of the pictures. This is all within the last 6 months. This is our time-lapse camera. We will also have one up on top of the stadiums that'll shoot back in the other direction, so you'll be able to monitor the academic area as it's being rebuilt. Quite a project, 63 portables.
Wow.
It's been a real team project. BTC has done a great job working with us, helping us make sure this gets done. We've got to have this ready by June. We've got to start moving, getting ready for the start of the school year. We could not wait until the summer because we wouldn't have been ready. We've got to be ready, hit the ground running when August 28th comes. Parkland Middle School additions and renovations. WRA is the lead architect along with InSync. Bain Construction is our contractor. The academic area will be ready to go for the start of the school year. The administration area shortly thereafter. But let me show you a couple pictures. We're 50% complete. Bless you. We're within budget, and it is on time. You get a look. We took the Bond Oversight Committee on a tour of this building, and they were impressed. Couple different looks. The one on your far left is from the second floor of the A building looking down in what will become a courtyard area for students for a collaboration area. The middle picture is the main lobby with the staircase leading up, and then a skylight well. Everybody does construction. We like to think that we do it better than everybody else because we have a teamwork and we hold people accountable and we work together. It's kind of like with Mr. Vasquez in his presentation. You know, everybody has issues. Let's be honest. There's bullying. You're not going to have a 100% bully-free school. You know, that's your ultimate goal. But Dr. Delatorre and I were talking about it. Where we think we differ is we handle those situations better. When those parents come to us, we're ready to meet with them and talk to them. We have one parent that's not happy with us right now, if you could believe that one. But you know what? We've invited them up. We're willing to meet and work with them. Same thing with construction. We try and do it better than anyone else. So those projects that are currently under design and procurement, this would be our combo school, new Thomas Manor Elementary, Hanks High School improvements, life cycle work. The rest of the Eastwood High School addition and renovations, Lancaster and LeBaron are getting cafeterias as well as life cycle. And looking real quick at the combo school, Manhattan Mora is our architects. They are a local firm. BTC is our contractor, working side by side. We are building a new elementary and a middle school that will have shared facilities. These are some of the renditions that you have seen in the past. The construction documents for bid package 2 are at 97% complete. We already did bid package 1, which was groundwork. This bid package 2 will actually be the construction. New Thomas Elementary, as we said, GA Architects is our architect. It's going to be a CSP. We'll be bringing you next week our recommendation for the contractor for this project. Some of the renditions for this area. Very exciting about this school.
Is it on time?
On time and within budget. Metric, yes, sir. You got it. But it'll have some very unique features, design features that no other school has. Hanks High School, a lot of life cycle work. We already started with some of the athletic enhancements. Last month, we brought you the bleachers, which is the indoor athletic enhancements. Bid package 2, which we will be bringing to you in June, has those life cycle projects. Roof replacement, electrical upgrades, HVAC, restroom upgrades. Eastwood High School, MNK and DLR are the two architectural firms that are working on this project. Construction manager at risk is our procurement method. and BTC. BTC, all they build is schools. They're not building, when we went through this process, we saw a lot of great contractors, but they're building Walmart's, Peter Piper Pizza. These guys focus on nothing but schools, so they bring that expertise to the table. Some of the renditions for the new school. We've already started talking about some of the other projects it's not written here, but I'll just mention it, is the early college high school at Parkland Middle School. Remember, they got part of the bond. We have met with the principal and walked that facility. We've been in contact, sat down a couple meetings with Mr. Garcia over at Bel Air Middle School about his new gym and his special ed remodel.
I think we have a question, sir.
Yeah,
Yes,
I was just going to ask, so this is beautiful, Eastwood High School's beautiful, I'm not saying that, but I'm wondering, are they going to have any place where that they pay homage to the old school? I think if you go over to North Loop Elementary, they have that beautiful wall where they have part of the bricks from the old school, and they have, I don't know, I feel like that, yeah, it's beautiful and it's great, and I want to see that, but I would like to see at Bel Air Middle the same thing, and something that kind of pays homage to the past.
yes, ma'am.
Are they going to have something like that?
We're gonna work on tying that together,
Yeah.
bringing the old with the new, absolutely. Don't want to ever forget what's gone on before.
No, I think,
They had a walkthrough, I understand, at Eastwood
Yeah,
High School, and they had adults crying as they walked through the hallway. So it means a lot to the community.
right.
But we do want to pay homage to the past.
They should say that timeline mural.
I think so too, since it's got your picture on it.
Lancaster Architecture was the architect. It's going to be a CSP. We will be bringing it to you this summer. Okay, those projects that are complete is Del Valle, the Outdoor Athletic Enhancements District-Wide Security Structural Remediation at Riverside Middle and Constance. We did a walkthrough of those two projects. The millwork at Riverside Middle School was a member being constructed. It will be installed by next week, Ms. Duenas. We'll have it here.
But that's what you've been saying for the past 2 months.
Hold me to it. We'll have it. The millwork done.
Next week,
Yes, ma'am.
I'll be there.
We'll invite you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Klein will make sure you get an invitation.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Sleeper, and she's going to give you your financial report.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, President Haggerty, members of the board, and Dr. De La Torre. They're bringing this up. So, Mr. Rosales, with regard to your request for specific metrics, I'll work with Mr. O'Neill to see if we can incorporate it all in one presentation. But in the meantime, let me direct your attention to the last 3 columns to the right of this particular display. And I think you have copies of the hard copy in front of you, yes? All right, so as you can see, in column 5, we're reflecting the actual expense and encumbrance total as of March 31st. Now, you may ask me, why isn't it as of April? Well, April hasn't even officially closed. We're still wrapping up the books for April. So we want to report to you where we are at the end of a closed period, and that's March. In that particular column, we're telling you the purchase order that's been issued, as well as what we've actually written a check to a vendor for. And then in column 6, this is what's left over between the original budget, not counting technology, because that's managed by our technology group and not VLK, less what has been encumbered or spent, and that's the remaining total. In column 7, we're reflecting the amount of the budget that's been spent or encumbered. And so if you'll notice, some of the projects reflect 64%, 63.93%, 81.86%. Many of those are safety and security, which we are 99% finished with, but some of the others are major construction. And so you can see on this particular page and on the back side of it, I'll go ahead and go there. If you get to the bottom, you'll see that we're 25% expended or encumbered. And if you think about it in terms of time, the election was November 2015, roughly January 2016 we started. We're about 15 months. Well, 15 months out of 60 total, which is a 5-year bond program, right on the money in terms of what we've spent or encumbered. We're 25% of the way through. And so we can incorporate this in a different format, but this is telling you that in terms of what we should have spent and how, and where we should be time-wise, we're right at it. Okay, any questions? No? Then I'm going to turn it over to Mr. McGraw, I believe, for your health
Yes,
presentation.
Ms. Leeper?
Yes, ma'am.
On some of these other elementaries, has anything been done? Because I haven't heard anything from my schools.
Well, if you'll notice, we list the schools on the far left. So if there's a particular school you're talking about, then I can go to the far right and tell you what's been spent or encumbered and how much of the budget is remaining.
Because I have some of the elementaries, and they haven't seen anything on there. What exactly, when you mention technology, athletics, what does that include? What in total, what is it?
Well, the technology is primarily connectivity, and athletics is under the athletic enhancements, generally speaking. Are there other things, Mr. O'Neill?
I think what Ms. Duenas, sorry, can you hear me? All right, what Ms. Duenas was referring to is in the project, a lot of our elementaries had life cycle work that was it. That was going to be part of phase 2. So I can tell you those will start in August of 2019. I'm looking at the chart that we gave you all originally. So you are correct, Ms. Duenas. A lot of the elementaries have not gotten anything at this point.
No.
But that is by design. Okay, so that's the way the plan was. But we hadn't forgotten about them. There's going to be money saved and ready for them when it's their turn. Okay?
Okay, but what exactly do you mean? I mean, athletics and, I mean, technology. Everybody sees the same thing district-wide, and they have even asked me, what are we going to get with that money?
Okay, for the athletics, that's broken down into 2 packages. One was the outdoor athletic enhancements. Those are the ones we wanted to get done right away so the public could see, where's our bond money going? And what a better way to do that than those artificial surfaces? You know, when you have all the band kids, the soccer kids, all your football players, everybody comes out on a Friday night, they get to see that. And then that also included the lighting for the baseball and softball, as well as the tennis courts, and then the perimeter fencing for those 2 projects. Now, the next phase for the athletic enhancements will be the indoor. Those are the bleachers, replacements, backboard replacements. Those are the indoor athletic enhancements. Okay, as far as technology, part of the bond was there was a piece for connectivity, the bandwidth, to make sure that all our buildings could handle all these new devices that we have. And that we're in great shape because member Mrs. Chavez and her group were able to secure $7 million in E-rate funds, but have freed up a lot of bond money. So I hope I answered your question, or no.
Who's Ms. Chavez?
Gloria
Technology
Chavez,
director.
Oh, okay. Okay, but is this for all the schools or just?
the technology part, as far as the bandwidth and connectivity, yes. Okay, now for the new projects that are like there are new schools, they have additional funds for furniture and then technology. Digital devices, some computers for, computer labs, STEM labs. Those schools that are getting new additions or brand new schools, they have budgets for those 2 items.
Okay, so it's not all the schools, right? that are
Not
getting-
for like projects such as the digital devices. Now, we are going to come back since we have some extra funds because of the E-rate funding that Ms. Chavez was able to acquire, and we're going to have some recommendations for some technology.
Because I know that there's a lot of more other issues on a lot of those schools, but like this technology and everything, but they haven't seen them. That's why I'm bringing it up, and they're asking where is that money, or has it been spent, and where exactly is it?
It hasn't been spent. This is it's a 5-year bond program, and typically you don't do all of the schools at the same time. They've, I think, established and they've shared with the board both the timeline as a district as well as the timeline for each specific school as to when construction or the life cycle work will start. A lot of the schools that are located in your district are part of phase 2 and in some cases even phase 3, so they may not see anything for 3 or 4 years.
And it's not on the paper, right? So that's why, because it looks real nice in paper, but it doesn't say where or when it's going to be done or anything like that.
They've
So-
told us since the beginning.
But it's, it's not in paper. They
So
bring
it
us
needs to
all
be
this,
given
so
to you
how do
every
we
single
know?
time? It's been told to
Well,
us
I
from the
mean,
beginning.
it's a different paper all the time.
We can provide the list of schools in the order that they will be addressed, can't we, Mr. Klein? It isn't going to be on that paper. That paper's for budgeting purposes
And
and
then
to
it's also
determine.
on the website.
And it's on the website. It's been well established for at least the last 2 years.
There's a scope of work, there's a timeline, there's all that good stuff.
The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. I'm Randy McGraw with Hub International Insurance Services, and happy to be here. We serve in the role of the employee benefits consulting services for the district. And the purpose of the presentation is to give you an update again on the financial performance of the self-funded benefit plans that Ysleta ISD offers its employees, that being the self-funded medical and dental benefits plan. On the second page of our presentation, we give you a year-over-year comparison of both per employee per year and per member per year metrics in terms of how the average cost per unit of people covered under the plan compares from one year to the other. This presentation is based on the first quarter of 2017, so it includes the first 3 months of claims data that's flowing through the system. And for 2017, we're just doing a straight year projection, but we have other projections in the presentation as well. I can tell you that, as I mentioned at the last presentation, I believe 2 months ago, that everything is trending well and performance of the plan is looking good. I know back in the fall of last year, the horizon looked like there might be a need to consider making some benefit changes or increasing payroll deductions or contributions from the district, et cetera. But so far this year, things are looking pretty well. Now, one thing, word of caution, when we're looking at the first quarter of the year's data, is that in the first part of the year, as with most people's benefit plans, if you have a deductible or an out-of-pocket expense, et cetera, those all start over again at the beginning of the year. So the first couple of months of actual paid claims data coming from the district's fund, it tends to be a little bit lower in the early stages as different members of your population are satisfying their share of the out-of-pocket expenses. And then as we progress through the year, historically, the months in the summertime are some of the heavier utilization of months as well. That's when most employees, if possible, or for their dependents, try to schedule any type of elective surgeries, things that don't require immediate attention. They tend to try to plan those during a time where they wouldn't have to miss any work. On page number 3, this gives the historical enrollment of the 5 different plans that the district offers. You can see they're named plans number 1, 2, 3, and 4. Plan number 1 is the richest benefit with the highest payroll deductions and consequently has some of the lower participation in the plan. Plan number 2 is your most popular plan in terms of benefits and price for employees to enroll in. Plan number 3 is a higher deductible than plan number 2 with slightly higher out-of-pocket expenses but lower payroll deduction amounts. Plan number 4 is your consumer-driven health plan, which is a high deductible plan with a health savings account coupled with that. And then the hospital indemnity is a plan design that's offered to employees paid for by the district that is really intended for employees that might have other coverage, such as retiree benefits if they're retired and this is their second job, or sometimes you have employees who've done service in the military and have TRICARE for life, or some of your employees may be covered by a spouse that has good benefits, and so they don't really need your comprehensive health plan. And the hospital indemnity plan still provides a benefit if you go to the hospital, but it also provides extra life insurance and free dental insurance for employees. But what we can see on this slide is that enrollment in the various plan offerings has been very stable for the last 2 years, as it is also going into 2017. And the reason for that is that there haven't been any benefit changes during this time period or changes to the payroll deductions. So when things aren't changing from the employee's perspective, if they're content with the benefits they selected, they tend to stay there, and that's what slide number 3 is telling us. I'd be happy to answer any questions along the way, too, if you have some questions. On page number 4, this would be our dashboard report, and so this gives you some metrics. Again, we've just taken the financial data and we've kind of sliced it and diced it by several different categories. If you look at the chart as you go down, it's pretty well divided into thirds. In the top portion, we're dividing the data between medical claims expense and pharmacy claims expense. In the middle portion, we're taking that same total dollars being spent and showing you whether it's coming from employees, subscriber means employees, spouse, or children. And then in the bottom portion, you can see the utilization separated by the 4 different comprehensive plans that we mentioned earlier. The kind of orangish looking line there that says average medical savings percent, that's a number that we keep our eye on as we look at your performance. And so this is your second year under Aetna. In January 1 of 2016, we changed from a third-party administrator where we were accessing the Cigna medical provider network, and we switched over to Aetna where Aetna access your third-party administrator, and we provide their list of preferred providers under Aetna as well. So what you can see there in that orange line is the average discount from billed charges for medical expense. And so again, just to refresh everyone's memory, when you go to the hospital or the doctor, they may send you a bill for their services, but our healthcare provider, Aetna, and the provider network have a contract in place with each of those providers where they gain discounts from their billed charge. And so one of the things that's led to the improved performance of the plan since 2015 is that the average discount is running higher under Aetna than it was under Cigna. And there's a couple things that drive that, but you do have a pretty good sized population, so this is a good benchmark to compare. So in other words, in 2015, the average discount was 64.8%. That means out of every dollar that was billed by a provider, 64.8 was written off, and only the remaining 35.2 would have been considered an allowable expense. You can see under the, the tenure from Aetna beginning in 2016, you can see a pretty significant improvement in the average discount. And you can see so far year to date in 2017 that we're even a little bit higher. But again, that's just 3 months of 2017. And they're months with fairly low utilization because of the deductibles and the copays and things. But those are very good performance metrics. We keep an eye on that on behalf of all of our clients. And Aetna in this marketplace tends to run about 67 to 68. So your population's outperforming the expectation that you would see in a big picture environment. Over on the right-hand side of the grid, where we have average PMPM. PMPM stands for per member per month. So that's a way of tracking the population and looking at a cost per unit basis as opposed to total dollars spent. You can see too the decline there in the average cost since 2015. So what that chart's telling us is that in 2015, the average cost per covered person under the plan per month was $419. With no changes to benefit plans, and as you saw also in terms of the enrollment. So people stayed with the same plan. The only thing that changed was instead of using Cigna's provider network, we were using Aetna's, and you can see that cost declined to $400 per covered person per month. And the $324 for the first quarter this year is a pretty significant reduction, but again, that's a little bit warped by the fact that more people are satisfying the deductible in the early stages of the year, and that will start to catch up. But anything that goes down is good news, so take any good news that we can get. On the dental plan, which is in the very bottom of the chart, that one's a voluntary dental plan that the district self-insures and offers to its employees. It's been pretty stable over time, but it has had a little bit of upward pressure in the last year. And we have some more comments on the dental coming up. Page number 5 is just another way of looking at year-over-year costs, and we have them separated here on the average per member per month cost, where you can see both the medical component, the prescription drug component, and the dental component. So again, when we're looking at 2017, on the far right, you can see the medical component is pretty small. So that's what I was talking about, A large portion of that is being borne by employees right now as they meet their deductibles. You can see that the pharmacy portion is actually pretty stable. And the reason for that is pharmacy claims are subject to copays and not subject to deductibles. And so that's why you see that one staying pretty steady. The dental part is a lower population. You can see it's currently higher than in the last year. But again, we're talking a lot smaller dollars on dental than we are on the medical and the prescription drug. Page number 6 gives us a historical timeline and looking at the average performance by each one of the plans. And there's a couple of important notes that are listed there. For example, January 1 of 2014 was an important day because that's the last time that rates and benefits were changed for employees, and that's when Plan number 2 was introduced. Prior to 2014, there were only 3 plans offered. Those 3 plans stayed in some form or fashion similar to what they were, but a new plan was created, Plan number 2, and that's the one now that currently has the majority of people electing it. You can see, too, that Plan number 1, that one back prior to 2014 was your most popular plan, had your highest population, but it also had pretty large costs involved in it. And so that's what was happening in January 1 of 2014 is there were substantial changes to payroll deductions. The enrollment dropped. You can see the average cost shot up for a little bit as the claims being incurred by that part of the population started to come down. But still, that plan, because of its very rich benefits and low out-of-pocket costs, tends to attract participants that have more frequent and higher cost healthcare needs. And that's why you see that its average cost per person is higher. Plan number 2, the blue line, you can see that's where the majority of the population is. You can see that one's actually trending down a little bit right now in the last quarter. And again, that's a function of the deductible. You can see that both plans number 3 and number 4 in terms of average costs are pretty close to each other, and they also show a downward trend. And then the bar chart is the combination of all plans added together. And again, you can see in these last few months the downward trend. So that's all moving in the right direction. Page number 7 is our worksheet and math for the forecast of what to expect for the next plan year. And the plan year runs on a calendar year, January through December. Of course, your fiscal year runs July through June. So embedded in the assumption going forward, I was advised that the board has already decided to increase the contribution from the district towards the health plan by $125 per covered person per month. That's roughly equal to about $375,000 or so. So those assumptions are already embedded into the forecast looking forward. And frankly, what we're saying and looking forward to plan year 2018, let me pause for a moment too and touch on an important fact as well. Prior to 2014, the district's reserve fund for the health plan had deteriorated into negative territory. It was minus about nearly $5 million. So part of the changes enacted in 2014 and carrying on to the changes in our plan administrator in 2015 and all of our funding level decisions, which means contributions from the district as well as contributions from employees through payroll deduction, are designed to do 2 things. 1, to cover the operational expense of the plan. Number 2, to help you restore your fund balance back to a reasonable level. And so we've gone from a negative number to where right now for the end of this year, in December 31 of 2017, we believe that your reserve balance at the end of the year will be about $3.2 million. Our target, a few rows up above there, is about $4.5 million. So all of the concepts and programs and payroll deductions and contributions that we put in place are slowly, as designed, moving you toward the target of having your reserves fully funded. When we look over to year 2018, we believe that by the end of 2018, that projected reserve balance will be about $4.2 million. And by then, our target would be 4.7. So by the end of 2018, we should be very close to the goal that we set back in 2014 to reestablish your reserves. And those reserves help take the cushion out of fluctuations in claims during the course of the year, and then also can help mitigate small rate increases if that's something that the math is calling for. So what the math is projecting right now is that if we had to make a decision right now today for what would we recommend for January 1 of 2018, the red number down in the lower right-hand portion of the column there would say we would save, without changing benefits, increase funding by 1.32%. That's very close to zero. So we're, in the recommendations going forward, we're not recommending that you change any of the payroll deductions for employees right now on the medical plan. And the district's already set aside some additional money for the funding, so everything's looking good to go for the future as far as the health plan is concerned. On the next page is a breakout of the dental plan. And the dental plan has had some increase in utilization lately, but this is a lot smaller numbers than what your medical plan would show. If we were going to fund the dental plan and try to get it right on the money to make sure that revenues cover expenses, then we'd recommend a 15% increase in the payroll deduction costs. Under this program, employees bear the full amount of the contributions coming in. So other than if there's a shortfall in the money available for the employees' contributions, the district does not intentionally contribute any money towards the dental plan. So page number 9 is just a summary of the recommendations. Like I mentioned, we've already included the projections, the additional increase from the district, but we're proposing no changes for benefits or payroll deductions for the medical plan or the dental plan for January 1 of 2018. At some point in the future, there might need to be an adjustment for the dental plan before the medical plan. But again, it's small dollars, and we'll keep an eye on that. We'll continue to monitor the performance, continue to come back to the board, keep you updated on a periodic basis. And then, of course, at any time, if you have questions or need for more information, we're here to provide excellent customer service and respond to your needs. And then that's the end of the presentation, but happy to answer any questions that you have.
Yes. So we look pretty much very good for no increase or anything like that.
Correct.
To maybe 2019?
Right now, the forecast would extend its way to through 2018, so that would carry us all the way to January 1 of 2019 before any, before the next cycle of any anticipated changes if necessary.
So it's pretty much June of 2019?
Correct.
Okay. I just want to make sure because that's what we were told it on the budget meeting.
Correct. Yeah, that's accurate.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions?
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Leeper will again present our proposed budget for the 17-18 school year to the board and be available to answer any questions.
Good evening again. As Dr. De La Torre mentioned, I have an update on the 2017-18 budget that we will be proposing for adoption on Wednesday. We'll talk about some of the key elements in the budget process as well as some recent decisions and our progress in developing the budget as you requested. As you know, both Vision 2020 and board policy speak to the development of each year's annual operating budget. Goal 4 specifically talks about finance and operations and requires that the district effectively and efficiently utilize resources. Policy CE Legal requires the superintendent or his designee to provide a proposed budget covering all estimated revenue and proposed expenditures for the following fiscal year. The first key element we look at is what do we expect our enrollment and our average daily attendance to be. Over the last 5 years, our average loss has been about 490 students. Conservatively estimating for 2017-18, we projected a loss of 520 students. Because our student enrollment determines our teacher need, for 2016 and 17 at the high school level, we've maintained a ratio of 23 students to 1 teacher. For 2017-18, we are increasing that ratio to 23.25 to 1. At the middle school level, we're moving from 22.5 to 23.25 to 1, while elementary schools will remain the same at 20.5 to 1. We've talked a lot about fund balance, and I'll just direct you to the 2 far right columns. At the end of fiscal year 2016, or June 30th, 2016, our ending fund balance was $91.6 million. It's our anticipation that we'll bring you a budget, or will end this fiscal year at the same fund balance of $91.6 million. We've also looked at revenues, and we anticipate an increase in our property tax values of 1.7%, which would yield $1.5 million to the revenue budget. And if we continue with the existing current formula calculations, which the state has not yet approved, we would expect an increase of $1.5 million on that side. Obviously, we think highly of our people, and that's where our primary investment occurs. Payroll and employee benefits account for 84% of our annual appropriations. Those top three items, payroll, contracted services, and general supplies, together make up 96% of the budget, while the remaining four categories make up 4%. In the budget that's proposed for adoption on Wednesday, these are the items that are included. A 2% increase for all full-time employees at the midpoint, which would cost the district $5.5 million. We've included again the $450 one-time lump sum payment, which cost $2.7 million. If both of these items were included on the salary schedule, which they are not, keep in mind the $450 is a one-time payment that can be eliminated next year if we needed to, they would amount to about a 3% increase across the board. At the campuses, we have created additional special education aides, or funded those at a cost of $500,000. We've increased the teacher-nurse substitute pay, which will cost $300,000. We've added additional bus drivers for the Eastwood High School, Eastwood Middle School transition at a cost of $200,000. As you know, El Paso Electric has petitioned the Public Utility Commission for another rate increase. We've built that in at an estimated $800,000. And then, as Mr. McGraw mentioned, we have increased our contribution, meaning the district, not the employees, to the health fund at a cost for the full fiscal year of $750,000.
Ms. Leeper, may I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Regarding the additional SPED employees per campus, is that going to be enough to cover us for all of the campuses for the special needs children? To have the ratios we need for at least 2 aides per class?
Let me defer to Ms. O'Neill and Ms. Chacon, or Ms. Russell Garcia.
Maybe I can answer it.
Go ahead.
Really quickly, the one area that is almost impossible to establish or introduce ratio is special ed, because it really depends on the children's needs. So you could theoretically have 8 children, but if the children were maybe mild to moderate and maybe not severe, then typically one instructional aid is all the teacher requires. In some cases, you could have as little as 4 students and need 2 instructional aides. So it really depends on the needs of the child. So Ms. O'Neill came to me and said simply that we needed to increase that by 10 FTE district-wide, and that's because we continue to be quite popular when it comes to educating students with special needs. I think the percentage is up to 14%. When you compare that to the Socorro Independent School District, who sits at 8%, I think it's a testament, says a lot about how we treat those children and their families.
And I agree with you, Dr. Leto. I think we have an excellent program, and we really work hard to serve the needs of those students. And so I just want to make sure that we're providing the support to the instructors as well, so that it's all balanced.
And we're very nimble, so if they come to us, the principal will typically come to Becky and say, you know, we've increased the number of students, and we make adjustments mid-year.
Okay.
Ms. Leeper, in regards to the 2% increase on the salary schedule, how did it work? How did this work out in the latter, is it the 31st year? Correct me on the number of years.
So currently, in this fiscal year, existing fiscal year, we do have 31 steps. As requested, we have modified that to 30 steps. So the last step will get the one-time lump sum payment and the difference between the step and the percentage increase. So roughly, they're going to get about $775 as opposed to $1,200 to $1,300.
Now, the latter steps, we're not getting anything. So that has been adjusted, is that what you're saying?
So the last step, which will be step 30 now, will not get a step. It will only get the difference between the percentage and the 400.
But they were previously not going to get anything, is that correct?
Any step above 31 still got the difference between the step.
Well, then it's 31 that I'm referring to.
Right, so what happens when you're beyond the last step, whether it's 30 or 31, what that employee gets is they get the percentage, the increase, 2% of whatever the cell they're in. What they don't get is the additional step. They get just the percentage. And that's why it feels like they're not getting what the other employees are, and that's true. They're not, but without having a step, you can only get 2% of your actual rather than 2% of the midpoint on top of whatever it is you're earning. So they do see an increase every year. They just don't see an increase as significant as some of the other employees do.
Okay, so we're not leaving the 31 and up out in nowhere land.
No, sir. They get about 325
Okay.
plus the 450.
All right. I just want to make that clarification.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so we've talked about this slide before as well, and I'm going to begin under the column 2016-17 revised budget. So as I mentioned on an earlier slide about fund balance, we started the year with $91.6 million. The adopted revenues were $368.2, adopted appropriations were $371.1, and subsequent to adoption, the board authorized the use of fund balance. We talked a little bit about the timing issues for costs that were authorized in one year but carried over, and we didn't get the goods until the next year. So that's what you see for fiscal year 2016 carry forward costs. And then additionally, we've been authorized for refrigerated air conversions at Eastwood Knolls, Desert Air, and Tierra del Sol. Those three items or combined items amount to about $3 million in authorized use of fund balance. If everything played out as we revised the budget, we would see a use of fund balance of $5.8 million and an ending fund balance of $85.7. But as you well know, under Dr. De La Torre's leadership, that is not the way we want to run our district. So in the middle column, I have for you where we project we'll be by the end of the year. We again began with 91.6 in fund balance. Our estimated revenues are going to be $371.2 million. Expected and expenditures will be $369.5 million. We think we'll probably spend 1.7 of the fund balance you've authorized us to use, meaning that our end-of-year use of fund balance is $71,682, bringing us to an ending fund balance of 91.5. That rolls right back up to the top where we begin this fiscal year's budget with a $91.5 million fund balance, revenues proposed in the budget for adoption on Wednesday of $375.2, appropriations of $376.7, and as you can see, there's a slight use of fund balance there, which is reflected at the bottom, use of fund balance. That's the delta between the 1.5% that we proposed and the additional 0.5% that you've asked us to build into the budget. If it played out as we're recommending or as we brought to you for adoption, our ending fund balance would be $90,052,061. Again, we're going to manage it in such a way that we hope to bring you a balanced or net effective zero at the end of the year so that you're still at a $91.5 million fund balance at the end of 2017-18. And that's important to us because I'm going to talk to you in a moment about what we want to do with some of our fund balance. PEA requires that we adopt the budget by fund and function. So you're seeing a new slide tonight, which is actually the way we adopt the budget. The funds are general fund, that's the first one listed, child nutrition, and debt service. The general fund budget is $376.7 million, child nutrition 24.2, and debt service 34.7. Together, those are combined to bring a budget of $435.7 million for adoption on Wednesday. And as I mentioned earlier, I have a plan for your fund balance. Although it's inappropriate to use it for ongoing operational expenses, and we don't budget it that way, it is appropriate to use when you're talking about addressing deferred maintenance or equipment replacement needs. And so over the summer, we're going to work to develop a plan to address some of the deferred maintenance as well as equipment replacement. It'll take us most of the summer, it'll take us all of the summer. And so we'll bring it back in late August or September. I plan to use $10 to $15 million of fund balance with payments back to ourselves. The benefit of this is we have no interest, no underwriting, and no legal fees. We will only look at items with a useful life of greater than 7 years, which is a benefit. So if we're funding it over 5 years, but we're looking at items with life over 7 years, that's a smart plan. We'll also look at items that weren't covered by the 2015 bond or are not addressed by the annual operating budget. And we do plan for some of these things in the annual operating budget, just not to the extent of our needs. And with that, we have 2 more items remaining on this budget calendar. One of them's already checked off. Sorry about that. That's the May 10th final budget approval by the board. And then in August, we'll come back to you with the certified appraised tax values and ask for your approval of the tax rate at that time. With that, I can take any questions you might have. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
At this time, I'd invite Champagne to come forward, and should the board have any questions for the internal auditor, she will make herself available to you.
Good evening. Good afternoon, President Haggerty and all board members.
Anybody have any questions for Ms. Champagne? That was easy.
Then why don't we go ahead and transition right to the next item, update on proposed policy changes, CFC and CAA regarding internal audit. And we'll have our General Counsel, Ms. Susan Austin, walk us through that.
Thank you. Good evening. When we presented to you at the last board meeting on April 12th, we presented some changes to policy CFC local regarding internal audit and a related policy CAA local. The major revisions that we presented on April 12th, we presented some about clarifying the authority of the board and superintendent, clarifying the scope of the internal auditor duties, and then streamlining some communications. And in that regard, regarding streamlining communications, we presented a proposal for an audit committee and also for quarterly instead of monthly status reports. And just to clarify, status reports are different from the audits. When an audit is completed, you will automatically get at any time that completed audit in your packet. These are just status reports showing where are we in the audit plan for the year. But you all had some feedback for us, and you weren't really comfortable with some of those provisions. You were comfortable with the proposals regarding the authority of the board and superintendent, regarding the scope of the internal auditor duties, but you had some questions about streamlining the communications. So we have come back with a slightly revised CFC local. And Ms. Champagne and I have worked on that, and what we've done in there, this is in your board packet at pages 217 through 220. That's the revised CFC local. What we did is we omitted the audit committee. So there's no audit committee. If you all decide in the future to have one, you can certainly propose one as a matter of policy or authorize your board president to do that. We also changed the requirement for quarterly status reports, and instead the language is periodically reporting as directed by board action. So at any time, you all can simply pass a motion that says we want to receive those monthly, or we want to receive them quarterly, or we want to receive them semi-annually. And if you get partway through the year and you decide you want to switch from monthly to quarterly, you just pass a motion to do so. We do not have to go back and amend the policy. So really, those were the only changes that we're bringing back to you based on the feedback you gave us last month. But certainly, that's at the board's discretion, what you'd like to see in the policy. Can I answer any questions? I'd be happy to.
Yes. So we're going from the one agenda to the other on the policy, policy action items? Is that where it is?
I'm sorry, say again, I'm sorry, I missed
We're going from this agenda to this agenda, but it's on the policy action items?
Section 9?
This is a policy action item for Wednesday, and the CFC local that we're proposing on Wednesday is slightly different from the one that we proposed to you last time, but you did not pass it, you tabled it.
Right.
And so we're bringing it back this way this time in a slightly revised version.
Why is it changed? Why did it change when we didn't actually agree to it?
Because that's what the board asked for.
You had some discussion, and I got the impression that you would like for me to bring you back a different proposal, so I am. You're not bound by it. If you would like to do something else, that's certainly the board's decision.
What is it different now that it was back then? That
It's those things right there that
Now,
are on
compared to April, is we took out, we had added a proposal for an audit committee, a working group that would work on some of the details and meet separate from the board and make recommendations to the board. I got the impression last time that you all were not in favor of that, so this proposal takes it out. We don't currently have an audit committee in the way the policy stands now, and I'm not proposing one. So there's no change.
So it won't be in a committee.
We won't have a committee.
Okay, so who wants to do the same changes? Administration?
The board asked for those changes last meeting, and the changes are right there. They're right there up on the screen. See where it says omitted audit committee?
I know, but I mean, from
Those are
one
the
change to,
changes.
from one extreme to the other, why can't we just follow the agenda instead of bringing it up right now? What's the difference?
It's on the agenda.
Exactly, but we jumped from
No, we didn't. It's report number
consent
6.
to action items?
It's report number 6, update on proposed policy changes, CFC, and next she's going to talk about CAA.
Yeah, no, I know, but I mean, the thing is that, can't we wait until we
No,
go
it's right
through
here.
the
See
agenda?
the agenda? This is today's agenda. We just heard
we certainly-
questions for internal audit, and right after it says update on proposed policy changes, CFC. That's what we're doing right now. Afterward, we'll go into those other things.
I'm just giving you the heads up on something that's coming up on the agenda. And yes, you certainly can ask questions when we get to that too, but I thought you might want some additional information as part of this workshop.
Oh, okay. Right. Yeah, because I do have questions on that.
Okay, great. And then CAA is exactly what it was in the last proposal, but since it was sort of bundled, we took that off the table last time too, and we're bringing it back. And all it does is it has a certain provision regarding the auditor and investigations. So with that, those are the two internal audit policy proposals that we're bringing to you on Wednesday. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry, we got one question for you.
Thanks.
Sorry.
Mr. Haggerty. Ms. Austin, thank you very much for all the work. You can tell from all the strike-throughs and the red and everything else. And thank you for the answer for my question today. I really appreciate it. You know, we talked a little bit about this the last board meeting. I've thought about it a lot. And this is a really, I mean, the auditor, internal auditor is a really big position. We all believe that on the board, very, very important. And there's so many changes, and there's the possibility of 4 new board members on this board that I really think that it should be tabled and let the new board decide on it. Because one is, if there's 4 new people, that'll give them the opportunity to learn what the heck is going on rather than it'll be a past thing, whether it's a board workshop. This is so complicated, I actually think it should be a board workshop because, once again, it's so important for the board members to understand the role of the internal auditor, the function, how it works within the whole system and all that, like the question I asked today and everything. So that's just a thought to the rest of the board that I would hope for you to think about.
I would also like to echo his sentiment. I think that it ought to be tabled for the next board to consider.
We'll pull the item.
May I just express the one thing, if you were to look at the clean version, which is also in your board backup materials, substantively, the changes are not very dramatic. And when we do have a workshop, I'll be happy to outline those for you Again, there are a few substantive changes, but not near as many as the red lines would make you think. The red lines, really over time, policies get messy, and a lot of what this policy does with all of its red lines is just clean it up and make it flow better. So I'm afraid that's my fault as sort of a writer and an editor. I couldn't help but clean it up. But if you want me to just change it in the way that it's substantive, I'll be happy to do that if you want to give me that direction.
I mean, like I said, I really appreciate what you've done. I asked you one question on number 5, the board's role, make final decisions regarding the appointment or removal of the internal auditor. I taught English for 15 years, and I kept reading that and understanding what the heck does that mean. That's why I asked you. And so new board members, certainly that would be a great explanation of what exactly that means. And like I said, you've done a great job. Don't think because there's cross-throughs and all that. We've seen plenty of documents that have red all over them. But no, it's just something I thought that would be beneficial to the possibility, like I said, of 4 board members, because this is so important to the functioning of the district and how everything relates to this, because we've had so much discussion about it.
I agree. I think if we could table it when we get to that point. Good idea.
Sorry. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes the presentations. Would you all like a 5-10 minute break?
Sounds good. All right, open those up and we're doing a whole bunch of talking. We now discuss the items as listed in the posted notice of regular meeting of Ysleta ISD Board of Trustees for May 10th, 2017. If you have any questions or if you'd like to pull any of the items, please let me know. We have the consent items after the recognitions, introductions, and Office of the Superintendent reports. First one is consider and take possible action to approve the minutes of the April 10th workshop, the April 12th regular meeting, and the April 18th budget workshop. If I could, I'd like to pull number 2 for a separate motion. Approve the resolution supporting the nomination of Dr. De La Torre for 2017 Superintendent of the Year by the Texas Association of School Boards. Number 3, approve expenditure of up to approximately $70,000 as cost for Customer Experience Summit, May 23rd to the 26th, 2017, for group registration from various district funds. Number 4, approve the 2017-18 Valle Verde Early College High School calendar. Number 5, accept monthly financial statements as identified in a separate index, including quarterly investment reports as of March 31st, 2017. Number 6, approve budget amendments requiring board approval. Number 7, authorize the superintendent to execute YISD contract 2017-0358 interlocal agreement with the City of El Paso and contribute up to $125,000 to improve the existing crosswalk at Ysleta High School with the Hawk system, contingent upon final negotiations, YISD legal counsel review, and approval by El Paso City Council. Ms. Duenas?
Yes, I guess Mr. O'Neill?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I have a question. What kind of program, is this something new or?
I have a video for you. If Hector, if you'll put the video up to show you exactly what the Hawk system is.
Okay.
It is activated by the passenger. Here you'll get to see.
Drivers and pedestrians in the city of Vancouver, take note. There's a new style of crosswalk in many areas throughout Vancouver. The new hybrid beacons use a series of yellow and red lights to command more attention from drivers. For pedestrians, It's much like a crosswalk at a regular signalized intersection with some additional cues. You simply push the button, then watch and listen for the commands. Wait. Until the crosswalk symbol and voice command tell you to cross now. Stay alert to traffic around you. See and be seen. Always walk within the marked crosswalk. If you're already in the crosswalk, keep crossing when the countdown clock shows time remaining. If not, just wait, for safety's sake. The solid red hand means stop, don't walk. For drivers, these new hybrid beacons are a little different than older crosswalk systems. For example, there's a series of 4 yellow and red beacons, not just one light. The crosswalk beacons are dark until activated by a pedestrian. Then it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. When someone pushes the walk button, drivers first see the beacon flash yellow. That means go slow and be prepared to stop. 2. Next, the beacon turns solid yellow. Caution, prepare to stop. 3. The next beacon is solid red. Solid red always means stop. Pedestrians are crossing. 4. Finally, the beacons are flashing red. Just like an intersection that has flashing red lights, you must stop at the flashing red and look to make sure all is clear before proceeding. Remember, someone may be in the middle of a crossing countdown. Every car must obey the beacon lights, not just the first car in line. Be safe and follow these simple rules. More information on the new hybrid beacon crosswalks.
Yes, ma'am. Question.
Yes, will this be connected to the lights on each side?
It will not be
Or
synchronized.
is it on the middle?
It'll be in the middle in between. You know where McDonald's is?
Right.
It's right there at
Oh,
the
okay.
McDonald's.
Yeah, because that's where they do the crossing. I was just wondering where this is going to be going. And I know a lot of the people are very distracted in that area.
Yes.
So it would be helpful that to slow down
Yes,
and
ma'am.
put additional to slow it down because they don't follow it.
We've been working with the city on this for a year at least, you know, after we had the fatality. And now
Right.
we're ready to move forward.
Okay, good.
Ms. Woodruff?
Yeah, it sounds like a really good thing, and I'm wondering if we will start considering the other schools like Bel Air and Eastwood, because Bel Air is off of Yarborough. It's a very, very, very busy street, and Eastwood's, of course, off of McRae, and that's a bad area too. So I'm wondering if this works out really good, if that might be a consideration for some of our other schools that are
Yes, ma'am.
in that position.
And we've already started those conversations.
Great, thank you.
Excuse me, not to belabor the point, but this afternoon when I was driving up McRae, making a left on Montwood, you know, where the kids cross, I was fortunate I was stopped, and these 3 little girls, they couldn't decide whether to go in front of me or in back of me, and potentially we have a problem there. And I certainly would like for us to look at that system.
Yes.
For Eastwood. I think it, you know,
Yes.
if we can avoid and prevent, it's better.
Absolutely.
Ms. Hairston?
Yes, Mr. Neal, I wanted to thank you for being proactive and keeping on top of this. I would like to know what the timeline is with the city and things like that. What are we expecting?
What we've been told, the city's going to do a turnkey for us, which makes it really nice. Okay, we'll fund the project, but they did the design, they're doing everything. And our preliminary talks tell us that before the start of next school year,
Really? Thank
that
you.
quickly.
Okay, thank you.
So it would be for September?
Ma'am?
For September?
Yes, ma'am. September 2017 is our goal.
Okay.
Number 8, ratify YISD cooperative requisitions 24278 and 28475 with Wegner Corporation for the purchase of furniture for Ysleta Middle School Fine Arts Addition in the amount of $105,022 from bond funds to a purchasing cooperative. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. On this one, is this part of the bond or it's fund balance?
No, ma'am, will come from 2015 bond funds that is budgeted for these projects. Each one of these projects have what is called an FF&E, which is a furniture allotment, and VLK had included it as part of the budget, so it
So
is bond.
It's part of the project?
Yes, ma'am, it's part of the project.
So it's
Number
not extra, right? Extra bond money?
No.
Number 9, approve YSD cooperative purchases with several vendors for the purchase of bread, dairy, food, and produce in an amount not to exceed $9 million from the National School Breakfast and Lunch Program funds through purchasing cooperative. Number 10, consider and take possible action to approve YSD cooperative purchases with the EduSource Corp. for the purchase of cafeteria furniture and signage for both Desiree and Tierra del Sol elementary schools in an amount not to exceed $110,000 per campus for a total of $220,000 from bond funds through purchasing cooperative. Ms. Duenas?
Yes, Mr. O'Neill, I guess the same question. Is this
It's from bond
part of
funds.
the
It's in there right
project
there
bond?
from bond funds.
Exactly, but is this part of the bond?
Yes,
That
ma'am,
for
it
the
is part of the,
project?
it
For
is
the
part of the
project?
bond specific for this project, and it was budgeted when they came up with the cost for the project. So it's nothing extra, and it doesn't come from local funds. It is 2015 bond funds.
But this is for both, right? The 110 for each project?
That is correct, for each one of those cafeterias.
Was that the whole total amount of the project?
No, ma'am,
It's just for the furniture?
it's just for the furniture.
Number 11, consider and take possible action to approve YSD cooperative requisition with SHI Government Solutions for the purchase of approximately 373 HP laptops at a cost not to exceed $175,000 to a purchasing cooperative from various district funds.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am?
Is this district-wide? Or what teachers and what schools are getting this?
Middle school.
This will be for new teachers coming in, and then any teacher that needs to upgrade their device.
Oh, okay.
Number 12, approve YSD cooperative requisitions with CDW Government, SHI Government Solutions, Dell Marketing, and Team First Technologies for the purchase of technology and related equipment for Parkland Middle School for 2015 bond education specifications and technology design guidelines at a cost not to exceed $500,000 through a purchasing cooperative from bond funds contingent upon Form 1295 certificate of interested parties. Number 13, approve an increase in the amount of $150,000 for YSD solicitation 216048 CSP Medicaid SHARS Special Education Management Systems, web-based online IEP services, changing the estimated annual amount to $800,000 from various district funds. Number 14, approve award of additional list of vendors for the supplier base for YSD solicitation 217027 RFP, professional services part 2, during the period of June 1st, 2017 to April 30th, 2018 for a not to exceed annual amount for parts 1 and 2 of $4,500,000 from various funds, with the possibility of 3 one-year extensions contingent upon Form 1295 certificate of interested parties. Ms. Duenas?
Is this district-wide?
Number 15, approve award of YSD solicitation 217037 RFQ, professional roofing consulting services during the period of June 1st, 2017 to May 31st, 2018 for a not to exceed annual amount of $600,000 from various funds with the possibility of 3 one-year extensions. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, is this for the same schools, the 3 schools, or is this for other schools?
This is for all the schools. This is a renewal. This is a contract that's just up. And what this does is allow us, if we need to go in and assess a roof, that we already have the contractor on board. We don't have to come every time we're going to assess a roof and ask for permission. But it is a renewal. It's something we've had in place.
Number 16, approve award under YSD solicitation 217036 RFQ, environmental services, hazardous waste, and recycling during the period of June 1st, 2017 to May 31st, 2018 for a not to exceed annual amount of $400,000 from various district funds with the possibility of 3 one-year extensions. Number 17, Approve award of YSD solicitation 217039 RFP Exterminating Pest Control Services during the period of June 1st, 2017 to May 31st, 2018, for not to exceed annual amount of $250,000 from various funds with the possibility of 3 one-year extensions.
Okay, on this, is this district-wide?
Yes, ma'am, it's the same thing. It's a renewable contract as needed. We're able to go to a vendor to get those services.
Okay. The reason why I was asking is because of the one time I went, well, we had I don't know if you remember, Dr. De La Torre, on the cafeteria of Bel Air High School was a big cockroach in front of all the people. And I was just wondering if this is all district-wide.
Yes, ma'am.
And it was, people didn't want to eat. We were there.
Number 18, approve YSD contract 2017-0325 with Region 19 for the continuation of Texas Student Data System initiative by the Texas Education Agency during the 2017-2018 school year in the amount not to exceed, in the amount of $1,000 from local funds. Mr. Pearson?
Yeah, I should know this, but I can't remember. Texas Student Data System. What information? Teams, okay. That's what I thought. Thanks.
Number 19, approve YSD contract 2017-0315 with the Communities and Schools El Paso Incorporated to provide social services and other supplemental support to students during the period of July 1st, 2017 to June 30th, 2018 in the amount of $573,500 from various district funds. Number 20, approve YSD contract 2017-0316 with Texas Women's University to sponsor a graduate student enrolled in the Speech Language Pathology Master's Degree Program during the period of May 28, 2017 to August 15, 2019 at no cost to the district. 21, approve YSD contract 2017-0320 with Blackboard to provide a mass communication system during the period of July 1st, 2017 to June 30th, 2019 in the amount of $162,247.80 from local funds. 22, approve YSD contract 2017-0334 with the College Board to provide College Board exams, products, and services related to college readiness and success system. Provide 1 PSAT for each 2017, 18, 8th, 10th, and 11th grade student, and 1 SAT for each 2017, 18, 11th grade student during the period of July 1st, 2017 to June 30th, 2018, in the amount of $174,656 from local funds. 23, approve YSD contract 2017-0335 with Lubbock Cooper Independent School District to provide general food services and related goods and services at a substantial savings to participating districts in the period of May 11th, 2017 to June 30th, 2017, and following the initial term, the agreement would automatically renew for an additional 12-month term unless either party decides to terminate at no cost to the district. 24, approve YSD contract 2017-0336 with the University of Texas at Austin to provide training services on May 22nd, 23rd, 2017 and June 12th, 16th, 2017. Contracts are effective on the date of execution to June 16th, 2017 in the amount not to exceed $48,000 from local funds. We'll move to the policy action items. Consider and take possible action to adopt YSD specific language in local policy DNA, performance appraisal, evaluations of teachers. Ysleta specific language in local policy CFC, accounting audits. That one had been tabled, it looks like.
That's the one you want pulled, sir.
And
2 and 3, right? We'll pull 2 and 3 and bring it back at a later date.
after that,
2 and 3.
we'll have a public hearing to talk about the proposed budget. Have an action item to approve the budget. Number 2, approve award of YSD solicitation 217034 CSP Ramona Park Lighting Improvements Project to Facility Solutions Group for a not to exceed amount of $85,977 from federally funded special revenue funds. Ms. Duenas?
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. One of my questions is, this is a total amount, right? The total amount of the project. Why is it taking so long? It's been a year.
because we've been working with the city and we had to go through, and not to point the finger at the city, but they have processes that we've got to follow, and we just partnered with them. But it's taken, you're right, it's taken quite a long time,
Yes,
but
because
we're there.
Usually they don't take that long for a project like this. That's why I was asking.
They need new leadership.
I don't think so. It's been a year.
Sorry.
The other one is, how long after this, this is going to be the contract, right? Is this something that you are going to get the contractor? Is that what it is? So this is what's going to the contractor. I think it was about maybe 120 something thousand that was allocated, but for engineering also.
And I would have to get you, since it's been a while, I'd have to get you those numbers, tell you exactly.
And the 85,000 is for the contractor
For
it.
the contractor to install the lights.
Okay. How long is that? Is that going to be during the summer or?
I would hate to commit with the city, but I'll get you their estimated completion date.
Okay, thank you.
We'll move into closed executive meeting where we'll discuss the terms of possible non-district use, lease, or sale of closed RFK pre-K located at 9009 Alameda for purposes of advance notice to open enrollment charter schools pursuant to Texas Education Code 11.1542. Also discuss with legal counsel regarding health scope benefits and express script pharmaceutical rebates. And then we will consult with legal counsel regarding construction manager at-risk contract documents regarding 2015 bond projects BP 13 Eastwood High School, additions and renovations, and BP 08 Del Valle Middle Mission Valley Elementary Combo School before reconvening an open session and taking action on approving term sheet for non-district use, lease, or sale of closed RFK pre-K located at 9009 Alameda, and direct the superintendent designee to provide advance notice to open enrollment charter schools pursuant to Texas Education Code 11.1542 and set a deadline of 5 p.m. on June 9th, 2017 for receipt of offers in response to such terms from charter schools. Number 2, we'll also take action regarding health scope benefits and express scripts regarding pharmacy rebates before we adjourn. Does anybody have any announcements before we adjourn? If not, I'll entertain a motion to go home.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. We are adjourned at 8:06.